I really believe that. Third topic of the day here is, in the current WWE landscape, there appears to be a heavy reliance on title possession. This kind of goes back to what we talked about in topic one. In title possession as a means to establish a wrestler's relevance. Meanwhile, there are several wrestlers primed for a title push. We talked about LA Knight, Damian Priest, Montez Ford, right? Given WWE's stated aim to rewrite the record books with longer title reigns, should wrestlers and WWE creative team members consider alternative strategies to maintain the intrigue in other characters? For example, should they adopt more distinctive gimmicks like The Undertaker, who managed to maintain relevance even without a title reign? Yeah, 100%. I've shouted this from the rooftop for a long fucking time, right? We need more Undertakers. We need more Mankind. We need more wrestlers that have simplified gimmicks that are identifiable, and not everybody has to be generic wrestler number 32 that wants to be champion.
I want to see the crazy gimmicks.
So you have to have those. The problem is, if every wrestler you have is based in reality and every wrestler you have, their sole purpose is to win a title, then you have a logjam of personality, right? Because everybody just comes out and says, I want that. I want the belt. That's what I want to do. Whereas when you have the crazy guy who lives in the boiler room, Mankind, and you don't really know what his aspirations are, right? And you have the supernatural guy like The Undertaker, there's so much more there than just having to go after a title. What we get right now is a bunch of vanilla Austin Theories. And I know it was Dominic Mysterio. Now Austin Theory's kind of been my target the last couple weeks. But the truth is, when you create these vanilla characters like they've done to Austin Theory, stripped him of everything that gave him gimmick and personality, the IWC falls in love with that shit, right? Because the IWC, what they want is just a bunch of fucking super talented wrestlers who can flip and jump and backflip and do all those things. And those guys, they're just super title hungry. That's what IWC loves. But those guys don't sell shirts. Those guys don't tell compelling stories. Whereas I think casual fans miss. You hear this sentiment, and it's always pinned on older wrestling fans, but I think it just exists in wrestling in general, a lot with casual fans of, I miss the Attitude Era. And I don't think people miss the Attitude Era in the way people are like, well, it's 2023. You can't do some of those gimmicks anymore. But I think it was how simplified the characters were and almost how kind of stupid and silly they were at the time, right? And I know I'm going to run down some of these characters, and I will agree that in 2023, some of these don't work, but they could work in a different reference, right? So in the Attitude Era, you had a guy that was a pimp, and he came out with hoes. That was the Godfather.
You showed him to me.
That was extremely easy, recognizable. He didn't have to win titles. People were just there for that moment, and it created something that you remembered when you went home, right? You had a guy that was a porn star named Val Venus who came out, and he pulled his towel off, and the ladies went fucking crazy. And his finishing move was called like the money shot, right?
What did he have under his towel?
Just like,
like the man panties?
The trunks. Yeah, the trunks. But it was the way he did it. But once again, it doesn't have to be a porn star, but it's the simplification of the gimmick, right? It's that there's more to the character than just, I want to be champion. Mm-hmm. And even if it's goofy, it makes sense. Mark Henry was sexual chocolate.
That's crazy to me. I had no idea.
Al Snow carried around a fake mannequin head. And people lose their shit. Because he was just kind of crazy and he would talk to it.
I like that.
And it would give him ideas. Mankind lived in a boiler room. The Undertaker was supernatural. His brother was Kane, who was burned in like a fire. Like there were these stories that went deeper than just generic white wrestler number 32. I want to win the title. That's what wrestling kind of looks like right now. And it's hard to get behind guys when you don't understand the gimmick. The gimmick of pro wrestling is in trouble, right? There were vampires in the Attitude Era. Edge, Christian, and Gangrel were vampires.
That's crazy. I like vampires.
And the entrances were so elaborate. And these, like, that is one part. WWE has this reliance on, like, we have a 50-foot
We got fireworks.
Yeah, we got
the
fireworks and a
fire, bro.
50-foot. Look at my video wall. Look at my video wall, right? It's like, look. When like you don't, the video wall is great, but the wrestlers need a gimmick. Even Randy Orton back in the day was the legend killer. His goal was to dethrone the older legends who were still hanging around professional wrestling. He had intention outside of being the champion. He didn't need to be the champion to be interesting. And right now, there's the reliance on being champion. We just talked about like guys in line who needed. What were you gonna say?
Is there anybody right now?
I literally have who has a gimmick on today's roster. That's
Read your
literally
mind.
the question I had next to ask was who has a gimmick on today's roster that is flushed out and that you could get behind and make sense. Viking Raiders.
Yeah.
It's a gimmick. I don't know that it's fleshed out. I don't know that it makes a lot of sense.
Could dig in deeper, I think.
But you know why the Viking Raiders feel so out of place? Because they're only people in costumes.
I guess that's true.
If there were vampires and other supernatural creatures, Vikings don't seem that fucking silly anymore, right? Mm-hmm. But when Vikings have to go against just regular tag teams all the time, it's a little goofy. Like it's like, why are these guys Vikings and everybody else is normal?
I think for like what I've experienced of wrestling, Bray Wyatt to me would have been the closest.
We'll get there. I have Judgment Day. That's a gimmick, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they took a bad gimmick. The original gimmick was almost like preachers, and they spun the gimmick into what they wanted it to be. And the gimmick eventually became, this gimmick is so bad that we're going to be fucking silly about it. Uh-huh. And that they made it good, right? Throwing pancakes, throwing cereal, shit like that became the gimmick. And what I don't understand is people came to see that. Fucking unicorn horns and stuff.
Wait, did you say the Judgment Day?
I meant the New Day.
Okay.
The New Day.
You confused me for a minute.
I meant the New Day. If I said Judgment Day, I meant the New Day.
All right, cool.
Okay. The Judgment Day was originally going to be a gimmick, but that's not like that gimmick absolutely makes no fucking sense because they're not supernatural. They don't have they're just, to me, they're just four people who kind of hang out together.
And have really good parties, apparently.
Yeah, right? They always talk about their parties. Imperium, that's like, so what it feels like to me is factions, these groups of people have this like loose gimmick that kind of holds them all together. But let's talk about single stars.
Okay.
Let's talk, like, give me a single star outside of, you said Bray Wyatt, which is one, but look, they fucking they can't follow through with that because they don't know what to do. And the reason they don't know what to do is like the Viking Raiders, when you have one guy who has a gimmick and it's a little farther out than everybody who's so based in reality, that guy looks like an outlier and looks crazy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd say out of everybody on the WWE roster right now, Seth Rollins is the most impressive gimmick wrestler they have, because he's able to be gimmicky enough but stay within that realm of reality. He continues to change his character, like, right, the Architect. He's had other ones, the Messiah, the Monday Night Messiah.
I like that
He's
one.
continued to evolve his character, and he's definitely playing a character.
Yes.
Right? Whereas, like, you don't, with Austin Theory now just feels like that's probably just an extension of who he is. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, the cell phone thing felt like he's playing a character. It's funny. Asuka kind of had a gimmick, but like this last week, she came out in fucking slacks and like a button-up shirt. So they've almost removed the gimmick away from Asuka,
which is dumb. Where she was made her.
She was gonna come back as like this killer clown kind of fucking character, and now she's out there with Bianca in slacks and a button-up shirt.
Was it just too scary for the kids?
No, I just think they can't commit to like making it make sense, right? They can't tell. They're afraid. The WWE is afraid to step into supernatural for some reason right now. It's like they're trying to stay away from anything that seems like beyond real belief. And I wonder if it's because they want to be labeled sports and not in, like, you know, they want to fall into the sports division and not like the entertainment side of like professional wrestling. Even though they call themselves, you know, an entertainment company. Karrion Kross.
Oh, yeah.
But once again, he's got a gimmick, but they don't let him act upon that gimmick. How cool would Karrion Kross's gimmick be if he actually was taking out people of meaning, right? A cool gimmick for Karrion Kross would be the TikTok, hey, this guy looks like he's ascending, he's about to, win a world championship, and all of a sudden Karrion Kross appears, and Karrion Kross is kind of a spoiler of big moments.
Oh, that would be cool.
That would be a cool gimmick for somebody. But right now, we don't have a Mankind, an Undertaker. Bray Wyatt, you said. I think.
But even then, I remember Bray Wyatt from the faction, right? That would have been a faction, the group of like Sister Abigail and stuff like that.
That was one of the last really good gimmick factions that existed, that were very in character. And I think that's a problem for Bray Wyatt. I think we're going to talk about Bray Wyatt in a little bit, but I think that is part of the issue of why he's struggling to get back in, is because he still has that old school mentality of like, we have to create these characters, whereas like WWE is kind of laying into, but it's got to be built in some realism, right? Damian Priest feels like somebody who could have the perfect Undertaker vibe, but they just like, it's like they won't like, his name is Damian Priest. It is literally the push and pull between good and evil, and you're telling me that you can't simplify that character down and create the gimmick in that. It doesn't make sense to me. But that leads into my fourth topic. Because I sit and I bash WWE, then I'm gonna turn around and say, hey, I think maybe